Hello, my name is Russell Myers. Welcome to Issues Unite. All right, so I will get to the title story in this in just a minute. There's a whole lot of information that needs to be updated here. First of all, Russia has completed the mobilization of 300,000 soldiers. They had so many volunteers that showed up that what they wanted a solid number. So what happened was that they had so many volunteers that they said any draft notices are null and void. If you received a draft notice and you hadn't made it to the mobilization office yet, don't come, because the mobilization offices have now been shut down. The last I heard, last week, 220,000 had already made it to the Donbass region. So the 300,000 will be there very shortly. And many of them are already on the front lines. So Russia has been this week striking infrastructure, mostly energy, electrical facilities and communications in Ukraine, including in Kiev this time. And in addition, the other day, they hit the main train station in Kiev. That was in the middle of the night to avoid as many civilian casualties as possible. Unfortunately, some nearby residential structures were hit, and there were a few deaths and injuries. Again, I am against any kind of a civilian deaths. I am going to say, under the circumstances, if you know that, infrastructure is being struck, and you live close enough by, I personally, I would take a look around my house, that could be a target, and I'd find some other place to stay for a while. But, these people have felt safe. They've been far away from the front lines. It's just as if, Americans are hearing about it. We're so far away that nobody is going to think about these things. Well, because the front line has been so far away, they're just not thinking in those terms, sadly. Now, there have also been cases where drones have hit civilian infrastructure directly, but even Ukraine has admitted that they have been firing at these drones and knocked them off target, so they wind up hitting civilian infrastructure. Ukraine has told civilians to go outside and shoot at the drones. What does this say about their air defense systems? They're telling people to go outside with rifles and shoot at the drones instead of telling their people to stay inside, stay safe. No, go outside and shoot at the drones. So it was only a few days ago that Putin had said that he did not see any reason for mass airstrikes at that time against Ukraine, but things changed. What changed to bring this on? Well, Ukraine has increased their shelling of Donbass, and in addition, they started firing missiles and drones into Belgorod, which is in Russia. As a result of those attacks, a lot of civilians in Donbass and Belgorod have died. So this is, again, a response. Belarus. And Belarus, they have mobilized their military, 9,000 to 10,000 Russian soldiers and several hundred armored vehicles, tanks have been sent into Belarus. Now, Belarus has hundreds or thousands of tanks of their own, but they are old Soviet-era tanks. And what have been sent there is the T-72s, which are much newer, tanks, which with much better abilities. Now, Belarus is fearful that Ukraine or Poland may attack Belarus. So this seems to be primarily a defensive operation at this time. There's no indication that they have any indication to be moving across the border into Ukraine as yet. That could change, but right now, that's what it appears to be. Now, many of the people the Russian soldiers that have been sent there are command level officers. So we're going to have to wait and see how that develops. All right, to the title story. In Kherson, in the Kherson region. And I'll bring up the map just as a reminder. Down here across the bottom here, where you see all the red and blue in a very concentrated area, that is the Kherson region. And that is where Ukraine has built up 60,000 soldiers in preparation for an offensive attack. Russia has been evacuating civilians out of the Kherson region. They told anyone that wants to leave Kherson that they can have an apartment or house, land, anywhere in the Russian Federation for free if they evacuate from this region because they want to keep those people safe. You haven't heard that from anywhere else, from the West. And, they'll give temporary welfare, whatever, which is starting to anger the Europeans that, okay, so we're getting laid off from our jobs and paying record high prices, but we're paying welfare for these Ukrainian refugees for an indefinite period of time. And there is no time limit that is set on that. I'm sure that there will be some anger that eventually develops in Russia if this goes on for too long over in the same way. As a response to the Ukrainians attempting, they've done a few recon missions, alleged recon missions into Kherson and other regions. But, they haven't launched an all-out offensive as yet. Well, there are words coming back from the Ukrainian front lines that first foreign forces were refusing to fight on this offensive, and now allegedly Ukrainian forces are refusing to take part in this offensive. They find it to be a suicide mission. Now, this is all alleged. It's hearsay. Nothing has been confirmed, of course. But if none of them want to take part in this offensive, well, too bad. Russia has turned Kherson into a fortress, and word is that they are they are currently in the process of building up 100,000 to 150,000 soldiers just in the Kherson region. So, and this is very, very realistic to say this. There were already, varying numbers between 100,000 and 200,000 forces already in the Donbass region. And now with the 300,000, that brings it anywhere from 400,000 to 500,000 forces on the ground in Donbass. So to put 100,000 to 150,000 in Kherson, which is the major confrontation point, is very realistic. Now, the front line is 1,000 kilometers long. But, this is hopefully this will be the point where this ends. If the soldiers refuse to fight, then you've got to be coming to an end. There was another offensive that was attempted, not in Kherson, but I think, now I'm not going to try and remember where, but there was an attempted offensive which involved an entire tank brigade and so forth. They had lined up their forces and they parked their vehicles. They were ready for it. The Russians knew they were there, but did nothing until there was a 10-kilometer gap between the two fronts, and Russia was not going to act until they saw that these forces were going to try and invade. Well, they decided they were going to try and invade. As soon as they started their engines, the entire force, the entire tank brigade was wiped out. They never moved 1 meter. They just started their engines, which you can tell from a distance with infrared imaging. You can hear. They're watching from a distance. They've got drones. They've got infrared imaging. They've got binoculars and telescopes and all this imaging. So they knew what was happening. They saw this force getting ready to move, and they just took them out before they ever moved a single meter. So yeah, if for the ones along the line of contact in Kherson, it's completely reasonable for them to decide, no, I don't want to do this. Hopefully they will keep that mentality, and this will just be all over. Hopefully it's the commanders that are just saying, nope, not going to do it, not going to do it. Time for peace talks now. There's also word that Ukrainians are now angry at Zelensky and telling him he needs to negotiate. Now that they are feeling the effects They're having their electricity cut off, their water cut off. Yeah, their transport, they can't ride, they can't take a train, they can't evacuate by that means, they can't do anything anymore. They don't have jobs, they don't have incomes, there's nothing happening. So this is where peace talks need to happen, period. That's it. No more fighting. It's time to talk. So again, cross your fingers. Hope with me that this is the end. I have been hoping this for a long time, but obviously I've been wrong several times, but you know, the West keeps on sending more weapons and sending more foreign soldiers and all this kind of thing, and giving the corrupt government in Ukraine more money to keep this going. But money can only go so far when all of your people are angry. So let's hope. Cross your fingers. All right, share this video. Talk about these subjects. These are major events that are going on, and hopefully this is the end of it. All right? Share this video. Talk about these subjects. If you can afford it, please donate whatever you can to help expand this channel and my presidential campaign, and I will catch you in the next one. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.